All right, welcome back. This week we're going to be talking about things that are more near and dear to our hearts, things that happen in Wisconsin, more specifically northern Wisconsin. And it's fun finding stories from all over the place, but when it's close by, it's even creepier. So that's what we're talking about today.
And some of these are our own encounters, and then some of these are near and dear friends and family members. So did you want to start us off?
Sure. So my first one is something that we both saw. And this was a couple years ago coming back home from volleyball. It was like 8:30 at night in the summer. And we were driving past a house that, like, we know that house is haunted. And I don't think about it when I drive past it. We've just seen video that they have.
Yeah, it's our
footage.
cousin, and they have stories, and hopefully I'll have her write in so we can share those.
But so we both saw it. There was just this shadowy figure just quickly go across the road, like faster than a car or anything could have. And I just remember being really creeped out, getting home and us not being able to go anywhere by ourselves.
Yeah, we both looked at each other like, did you see that? And when we got to the stop sign, like, there was no car in sight, and like with the turns that were coming up or the straight road on the other side, there was no way we wouldn't have seen it. And we even contacted my cousin because they have a camera system because their business is there too. And we're like, do you have a video camera facing the road? And so we gave her a time frame because I think I texted her right when it happened. So I'm like, it's around this time that it happened. And they couldn't catch anything because it was just a little too dark out. And
I don't think they had a camera right on that spot either because it was a little further out from the property.
It was close.
And
yeah, we couldn't do anything for the rest of that night alone.
I just remember it went from, like, if you're facing it from left to right, just really quick, it looked like a shadow that was off the ground.
Yeah.
Like the size of, I don't know, I picture it being the size of a torso. It's so weird.
I don't know.
It didn't give me a good feeling either.
No, we were on edge for the rest of the afternoon.
I heard a theory about that. Like, when you see things like that, this is from a different coworker. I'm talking to her. A couple months ago, I was talking about this story, and she said she believes that it's like bad, we'll say entities, I don't know what they are, trying to, like, distract you from the good and stuff, and they want to scare you.
Well, it worked.
Well, it worked for a little bit, yeah. But then I just remember, I don't know. I always think good prevails over bad. And I just reminded myself that maybe that's why we didn't see more.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So that's my first story.
Yeah, I liked that story. I love telling people that story because it was the fact that we both saw it, like, that's more of a rare thing. So my first story I am going to share is when I lived in a rental property with my parents, and I think I was in middle school. In this house, I always show it when we pass it every time. I'm like, oh, there it is. I was afraid to look in the windows. But one night I woke up from the couch because I was still scared to sleep by myself, and my sister's room was always next to me and she was gone. So I was sleeping on the couch next to my parents' room, and there's an archway into the kitchen. And I remember waking up and seeing a silhouette, and it was white and I could see through it. But either way, I called out for my mom because I thought it was her. And after 2 or 3 times, I figured it out and ran in between my parents in bed and slept with them for the rest of the night. And my mom in the morning convinced me, she's like, oh, and I still, part of me, like, believes that. But, when you wake up, sometimes your eyes are blotchy. So they knew, like, if I would have thought it was something else, I wouldn't want to live there anymore. So I don't know how long goes. Once we move out, like, months go by, and I go to youth group, and they're talking about, like, evil and demons and things like that. And I talked to my youth pastor afterwards. I'm like, hey, I thought I saw something in my house, but my parents just dismissed it. And they're like, oh, yeah, we weren't supposed to tell you while you were still living there. And they told me that it was indeed, like, there was something that was going on there, and they weren't allowed to tell me because they knew I'd want to move out. And so I talked to my parents about it too, but I think my youth pastor was able to tell me most of it because they talked to them about it. That my mom would be there was a story above us that was always vacant. I don't know if they ever heard footsteps up there. I've gone up there before because we had access to it. I don't know why, but there was a door in our house that we could get up to it from. But it was always vacant. So the basement was really creepy, and my mom would hear footsteps upstairs when no one was home. We did have cats, but typically cats' footsteps sound different than a human's. And then they'd feel breezes in the hallway when all the windows were shut. And there was it was some head of a church. I don't know if it was a pastor or a priest. And they came over for something, and my mom invited them in, and they would not come in the house. And they said they prayed for somebody with demons there. Like, the fact that somebody won't come in your house because of that makes it incredibly creepy. And I believe that is the same house that had the locked door in the basement that we got unlocked and had a symbol drawn on the... Did you hear my sister talk about that?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the house that had a symbol. I don't know what the symbol was drawn on the wall, but it was a locked door that we got into somehow. And it was like one of those basements where it was like stone and rock for the walls, and it was creepy as hell.
I don't care what kind of symbol is drawn on a wall. Like, it could just say like joy or anything like that if it's in a locked room in the basement.
It was truly creepy, and I would never go back in that house either.
Yeah, me either. I've driven past it, but I've never had a need to go in.
No. I mean, we don't know anyone who lives in it, so.
We should try to find them and be like, hey, anything weird ever happened?
That would be actually funny. Just knock on the door and be like, hey, I was just curious. I was in the area, and I used to live here, and I was just wondering how you like the place.
I know not too far away from that is the gym we go to, and our gym is an old church. And I just remember, like, I would love to talk to the people there about, like, hey, what are things you've seen and stuff? Because I know people have said when they work out there by themselves, they'll...
Yeah, you get creepy. I had a presence I was on the treadmill, I thought you were behind me, and I, like, felt a presence. Like, I've never felt a presence behind me like that before, and I looked, and no one was there, and it creeped me out.
I remember that girl one day saying that her phone was sitting on, like, a bench or something, a box, and it didn't go flying.
But how it fell
moved,
and where it landed, she said it didn't just fall. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It is. All right, what's your next story? I mean, we added the gym in there, but...
Yeah, my next story is, like, interesting and not in, like, that's spooky kind of way. In more of, like, a just absolutely terrifying way. My mom told me this story when she was... I don't know how old she was. I feel like it was early high school. So she was home alone, and somebody started trying to break in the house, and she literally, there's, I think, like enough space for you to fit, obviously, between the wall and the door, but she like put her feet against the wall, her feet against the wall, and her back against the door, and like held the door closed as the person's literally trying to break the door down, and then she thinks they only left because they could hear her calling the cops. And
that's so creepy.
Yeah, and nothing ever came from it.
We're adding creep when with our stories now, like creepy wise, like it doesn't have to just be paranormal. Like we want like true crime kind of things too. Like it's all very interesting stories and creepy, and
they still give you that feeling in your stomach that you're creeped out.
I would be, if that happened to me, oh my gosh, I would have every alarm system in my house.
I would almost rather see. Like, I have dreams where I live in a haunted house and, like, I see cabinets and stuff move. I would almost rather have that because then I could, who knows, maybe it's a friendly ghost, but, like, maybe it's Casper.
I don't know.
Or I could blame it on the wind or something like that. You can't blame, like...
Would you rather be robbed once?
Or live in a haunted house forever?
Or live in a haunted house forever?
Haunted house.
Oh my God, I think I'd want to be robbed.
I don't know.
That's a hard one.
They say that you never feel like, because you should feel safe in your home. It's like the one spot where if all else fails, you should feel safe in your home, and if someone breaks in.
We should do a poll on Facebook and see what people would vote for.
I'm choosing the haunted.
A friend, like, not like the most terrifying, like, robbery is terrifying in general. Like, I'm not sugarcoating any of them, but like, I'm going to say like a lighter one where there's not even a gun. Someone just broke in.
But nothing says they're just trying to rob you. Who knows why they're trying to get into your house.
I'll make it more clear when I put the poll out. But yeah, I would pick robbery.
We should ask my mom.
That's true. We'll ask her too. All right. I'm going to share a story of my parents now. So my parents lived in one of their first house. I think the first house together was a trailer. They lived in a trailer park. And that's important to the story because their house was
a trailer. Was it? I thought there weren't other houses by them.
Oh. Well, I don't know that part.
I think it was just a trailer.
I know it was a trailer though because of the part of it being up, like you can crawl under it.
Okay.
That is an important part of the story, is being able to crawl under the trailer. And so I think my uncle saw this once when he was there too. I cannot verify that one without talking to him, but for a fact, my parents were sitting down watching something on TV, and the chair in the dining room slid across the room. And they went over, they looked for strings, they went under their trailer, they looked for magnets. There was no tilt to their room. Like they tried to debunk it in every way they could, and there was nothing. Like they literally saw a chair slide across the room. That would make me move out of my house ASAP. I forgot which reason they moved out, because then the next thing that happened to them, I don't know which one was first, is you can only bolt lock their door from the inside. And they came home one day and it was bolted, and all the windows were shut, and I think they were locked too. I'm not quite sure how they got in their house. There was no possible way that could have locked by itself, unless it was obviously that. So one of those instances, they didn't move out too long after. It only takes a couple things for some people, and they're like, yeah, I'm out of here.
I think sometimes it should just take one thing.
Yeah, that's true. Depending on what it is.
That is scary. And I'm hoping we can have either a story written in or have them as a guest. Mm-hmm. That their parents lived in a really creepy place too, and they had stories with it, with her growing up. And relating to that coworker and the parents.
Oh, yeah.
My third story isn't really a story. It's just that coworker sent videos of her mom's YouTube channel, which is Wisconsin Woods Experience. And she has tons of, she says, a bunch of footage of just different unexplained weird things happening in their property, which I don't know how many acres they have, but it's kind of like when I think of spooky things, like the woods at night, especially, like that's spooky. Like you don't know, like the animals that are out there, like you can't see what they're doing, but it's also your imagination, and like there's ghosts and stuff by houses. Who knows what's out in the woods? But she has a lot of videos out in the woods with just creepy things. Like this video, the one that we watched the most of, was she has these symbols and like dolls set up. And you're just standing there, she's standing there talking, looking at the dolls, and one just, like, there's not wind. It just knocks over and moves, rolls a little bit, and she doesn't think anything of it. That creeped me out. Yeah, and so granted, we understand that anything could have knocked it over because it's just in the middle of the woods, but this thing has been there for, I think our friend said a couple days. And because we brought this up to our friend, we're like, she didn't even react to this thing tipping over. Yeah, and she said something along the lines of she doesn't acknowledge the entity. Yeah. She said it's worse if you do. Yeah. And I found that gave me goosebumps when she said that. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So that's Wisconsin Woods Experience, and I need to watch more of those videos. Yeah. But don't watch them at night, because then I'm too creeped out. We haven't watched them all because there's a lot. But they really spooked us out. And the handle, just so you guys are aware, it does say at Wisconsin Woods Experience, but it has a 5845 at the end of it. Typically, you don't need to type that in to see it, but please go check out these videos. Oh my gosh, they're so creepy. I love stuff like this. But yeah, I like to watch them during the day. And she's just kind of fun to listen to talk. Yeah. Just because they're enjoyable videos. I'm hoping our friend can take us out there sometime. And first have some liquid encouragement. All right, my last story is about a haunted cemetery in our town. We have this cemetery called the Calvary Cemetery, and it's a known haunted cemetery. However, a lot of the things can be explained with the factory next door. With that being said, every cemetery has its demons. Demons. But seriously, every cemetery, I feel like can be haunted. Obviously, there's a lot of dead people there. And this particular night, my sister denied it soon after it happened. She was the only other one who saw it with me. We were driving through the cemetery at night, because that's what we do sometimes. I think it was, I don't know. I feel like it was around Halloween, because we used to do that and then go to the Paulding Light, which we'll talk about another episode. So we're driving around, and all of a sudden I see in the distance a tombstone light up as bright as it possibly could. And I mean, nothing could light up a tombstone like this. It was like the tombstone itself was the light. It wasn't illuminating off of it. It wasn't creating a shadow on the ground. The only thing that was lit up was the tombstone. And I am yelling in the car, oh my God, everybody, look. I'm trying to point. No one sees it. It's the only thing lit up in the whole cemetery, and no one can see it. And I'm freaking out. And so then
it just slowly starts to dim and no one saw it. But my sister said she did. And then after that, she will claim now that she never saw it. I haven't talked to her about it in a long time, so maybe she'll say something different now. I know she's had things happen to her, and I'm just like just agree with me that you saw it so I know I'm not crazy. But it was the weirdest thing to see. But yeah, so those are basically all of my crazy experiences for paranormal. I do have one or two other things I can share, but I will save them for another time.
I have one real quick cemetery one. So my cemetery.
What's a cemetery?
So I have a quick cemetery story. That's a tongue twister for me, apparently. When I was in college, my freshman year, went to Appleton, Wisconsin, and went to go see this tombstone that's supposedly like haunted, and it feels warm when you touch it, and supposedly you can see a flame sometimes. So we went to take a picture, just random pictures to see if you'd see orbs or anything, whether they're dust particles or not. And so this is back when you had digital cameras, and those were the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And when disposable cameras, big honking ones, and then these digital cameras. So anyway, the batteries were supposedly charged all the way. They took one picture, and the camera died. That's my story for there. That's all that really happened.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
But it sucks because it's like, that could be blamed on other things. But you hear that a lot when there's evil stuff and you try to...
It doesn't have to be evil, though, either. It can be any kind of spirit.
I suppose. Anytime there's something haunted or spiritual, people's cameras always die.
Could I say they're trying to find energy or they're using energy?
That makes sense, yeah.
Ready for my positive thing?
Oh, you got one? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even look one up. While we were recording, I was listening to you.
Oh, okay.
But I saw one of our girl cats keep putting her paw in their food dish to move the food dish from one way to find a little piece of food that was behind it. So she's
Really?
moving the entire bowl of food to get it at one piece. Then she'd move it back the other way because there was another piece.
Even though she has a full food dish.
Yeah, she ignored the food dish, ate two little pieces, and then left.
So our cat is the positive of the day.
Yeah. Positive?
Is it the one that we put in our post this week that was our recording buddy?
No.
Or was it Lola?
It was our black cat.
Oh,
yeah.
it was Lola. Again, though, Cleo was in our lap again for recording today. She just wants to be loved. All right. Well, if you guys have any spooky stories, please go ahead and send those into creepytravelspodcast@gmail.com. Go ahead and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube if you can. Otherwise, you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to y'all next week. Bye.